Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and I got Alpha. So today we are actually going to just be breaking down the Devourer talent tree. I've had some play with it, obviously not like a ton, but today we're going to be breaking that tree down, and then tomorrow I think hopefully will be like a gameplay video, and Sunday I think should be a feedback video. And then Monday, we'll have a video about live. I don't know, there's a bug on my wall, sorry, I think it's a fly. So with that, I don't know, let's just break it down, like, comment, subscribe, more Alpha stuff to come, maybe looking at survival at some point too, and let's get on to it. All right, so here we are with the talent tree. Ignore the stopwatch, I was testing stuff. So we're not gonna talk about the class tree right now. There are a lot of nodes unimplemented. I believe there are 9 nodes here. So, you know, these three, and these three, and there's some other nodes here that just don't make sense. Oh, 10 actually with this one. Aura of Pain doesn't make sense. Immolation Aura doesn't exist. Deals damage to you, why would that matter? Same with this one. So I think there will be stuff here that, you know, gets fixed a little bit. We're gonna ignore that. Felskard also doesn't really work right now. We're missing all the new talents. What you can learn about it is that Burning Blades goes off of Void Blade, Reap, and Throw Glaive, which we don't even use. Violent Transformation gives you Void Blade in the Hunt, which is pretty good. And then also Demonic Intensity gives you the Hunt, and this one gives you Void Blade and Hungering Slash, which you're probably wondering, like, what the hell are those? Well, if you missed my video yesterday where I broke down all the abilities, you'd probably be confused. So, quick little recap. Devourer basically has a few main abilities. You have Consume, which is your filler, gives you Fury and Souls, and you can cast while moving. Reap consumes Souls and deals pretty solid damage. Soul Immolation just generates Fury and Souls. Void Ray uses Fury to deal damage and generate Souls. And then Void Metamorphosis is your big damaging thing. And then Void Blade is just kind of around. You don't really use it in like melee builds, I guess, but melee is not really a thing. Then you have 3 passives. Grim Focus, which means if you're out of combat, Void Meta doesn't do a lot. Fury Drain does a little bit. Shattered Souls damage has 12% chance to shatter a soul, and then your your mastery. All cosmic damage is dealt by 15%, and then while in meta, it is increased by additional 22%. So it actually gains like a lot of value inside of meta. So it goes from 15% all the way up to, I believe that'd be 37% cosmic damage increase, which is pretty substantial, and you can be in void meta for a while. So breaking down the Spec Tree first, then we'll touch on Annihilator, because I know people want to know what that is. So the Capstone we already know, sorry, the Apex. I believe the Apex stuff will be down here at some point with a different visual. It's very good. Collapsing Star already critically strikes is crazy. Sea Star does a lot of damage. We'll look. Midnight 2 means that you get all cosmic damage and all your damage is cosmic, so that's good. But then also 100% of your crit strike chance is crit damage on Sea Star, which again, it's always critting. That's really good. And this one, entering Void Meta, gives you 5 Lesser Soul Fragments and lets you immediately cast Collapsing Star. So Collapsing Star is cast every time you get 30 Soul Fragments inside meta. So the tree is basically built down into 3 sections. And the top part of the tree is all like Fury and Soul generation. The left part of the tree here is all like your melee abilities. The middle part of the tree is all about Void Meta and your Sea Star, so Collapsing Star, while the right side is about Reap and Eradicate. And then these little things here are kind of just fill-ins, like Void Meta Haste, more Souls. This is kind of a worse version of Know Your Enemy, which is all, like, it's still pretty good. Gives you more damage in Void Meta, gives more damage to your melee abilities, gives more damage to Void Blade, and every time you damage people with Void Blade, they do damage. So, you know, you have like your melee package, your Reap Void Ray package, and then your Sea Star Void Meta package. So there's basically 3 different things. Eventually we'll get 4 more talent points, and you'll probably take these 4. So builds will likely be middle right, or middle left, right? So you'll have some variation of that, just in how it works. So breaking down talents, at the top of the tree here is all your like your baseline stuff. Void Ray is your main damaging ability. Your Void Beam. Soul Immo, it just like deals damage to yourself, but generates souls and stuff, which is actually pretty good. And this actually has a node that changes it, so you can either have 2 charges with 30-second cooldown, which is what I'm using right now. I think it's a little better. Or this one, which is just 5% chance whenever you activate a spell to generate a Soul Immolation Aura for 5 seconds, which is, I believe, the same as this, right? Yeah, so 5% chance in all your abilities to proc 1, or 2 of them with a 30-second charge. We'll see. Honestly, I think the spec's a little missing something right now, so I'm not sure if I want the proc, because it just takes away a button. Like, you literally would just be a 2.5 button spec, but it's there. This is just your Void Meta. It's weird it's not an active. I think that's probably a bug, but it's a passive right now. So 50 Soul Fragments gives you Void Meta. This just makes consume deal more damage and give you souls. This one's pretty cool. So this is, I think, entirely passive. You probably won't play around this that much, but whenever you pick up a soul fragment, you gain 1% increased damage. So it overlaps. So if we like, you know, generate a soul, by the way, casting while moving, isn't that sick? We generate some souls. We see here that I have 2% damage, pick one up, 3%, but stacks will fall off. So it's a bit like Iron Fur or Reaver's Mark. You pick up stacks, but they fall off as, you know, you no longer need them, which is pretty sick, honestly. I think it's a pretty good like passive damage increase. We'll see how it feels in like actual gameplay, but it's pretty decent. Next row, this is just like a Fury row. Void Blade for the melee builds, this for the other ones. Entropy is huge. This allows you to actually have some souls going into combat, and also generates them inside of combat. Now, I think this should be higher probably, but I'll save that for the other video. But if you're taking short meta, it's like 15 souls to get, or no, 10 souls, I believe. No, yeah, 10 souls to get into your void meta. Otherwise, it's 25, which takes roughly 30 seconds to do, which is a long time. So I would like this to stack higher, but we'll see. This one's really good. Gives you a reap after Void Ray and makes it give you more soul fragments. So if we generate a bunch of soul fragments here, let's just try and get up to 100 Fury to actually activate our thing. Boom. We'll use our reaps. So whenever we actually Void Ray, which should be pretty soon, we'll use it, and it's going to reset our reap and cause it to suck in more soul fragments. Boom. So it sucks all of them in, and reap deals more damage for the more soul fragments you suck in. I believe it says it on the tooltip. It says it somewhere in here. There's a talent somewhere. There we go. Each soul fragment gathered from reap increases damage by 8%. That's kind of the gameplay loop. You use your consume here to generate souls. You consume those souls with reap. Whenever you get 50, you can go into void meta. Fury goes into void ray. Go into void meta. Boom. Cast a big star. Suck all those souls in with reap, and try and stay in void meta as much as possible so that you can kind of like keep the train rolling, get a ton of soul fragments. I will say it's probably missing something, but again, we'll go over that on Sunday. So those are kind of like the top talents here. Give you more soul fragments, more reap charges, more longer duration of Feast of Souls, Void Ray, basically isolated hatred, but for Void Ray, and then Void Ray more damage. And that's kind of it, right? I mean, there's this talent Sunder, which you probably won't take. It feels really bad to take. This should just be passive, like a baseline ability, I think, because again, like, you're not going to take a defensive option in your tree if you can help it, and this is a defensive option in the tree, so this just heals you, basically. Deals damage equal to 25% of your missing health and heals you 50% of your missing health. Like, it's just not ever going to be that much damage, and it's like fine for healing, I guess. And then we get to the cool stuff. So Void Ray doesn't really matter, Focus Ray doesn't really matter, Sweet Suffering is like fine, it gives you 4 more seconds of the damage amp. We get to the packages. So the first one here is Collapsing Star. Now, Collapsing Star we saw used. This is the big Boomba ability, and the whole row here relates to Void Meta. Now, it is 5 talent points, which is kind of crazy. But I believe, actually, put a point back here, that the rows go to here. So it's not as bad as it seems. Like, yeah, it's a ton of talent points, but it's only 3 bottom row points, really, if you think of it that way. As opposed to everything else, right? So Dark Ultimatum, more Collapsing Star damage, sure, whatever. Impending Apocalypse, each Collapsing Star deals more damage, which is really good. Generally speaking, depending on which of the capstones you get here, you can have 3 or 5 Collapsing Stars without Lust, is what I've seen. Star Fragments, Collapsing Star gives you 5 soul fragments, really good. Again, Collapsing Star is 30 soul fragments, so that is 1/6 of the way there. And if you combine that with Midnight when you enter meta, your first Collapsing Star is actually going to be 1/3 of the way there, which is actually really good. And you can game some stuff with Eye Beam or Void Ray, sorry, to get even more souls that way. So probably how the rotation is going to go, but again, we'll see what happens. Then we have the, I think, really interesting choice node, the only really interesting one on the tree. We have the choice between Soul Glutton, which Void Meta requires 15 less souls, but your Fury drains 25% faster, or Emptiness. Every soul consumed in Void Metamorphosis grants 0.25% haste up to 25%. This feels really good. They both feel quite good. Soul Glutton gives you more often, like more often you get a meta, but they last less time. But then Emptiness gives you more, like it takes longer to get into a Void meta, but while you're in Void meta, it lasts a lot longer, and the haste feels like amazing. Like, it feels really fun to play with this haste. Now, I will say, obviously, 50 souls is a lot. It takes you 30 seconds to ramp into it. Then you can like rip 2 souls, 2 Collapsing Stars. So it does take a lot of time to get into your first Void meta with this. But once you're in there, like your void meta will last a long time, which is really good. I'm worried about PI, but again, we'll get there. So that's the middle branch. Really cool stuff here. Right side of the tree, we're going to unclick this stuff so we can kind of take stuff as we go along. Right side of the tree is about Reap. So after fully generating Void Ray, you gain Fury, which lets you get into another one. Then you have 2 points for Reap damage, and then you have Eradicate. And Eradicate is pretty sick. So fully channeling Void Ray causes your next Reap to deal cosmic damage to all enemies within a cone, which is awesome. So we're going to apply those, and I'll show you the cone, which looks really, really cool. All right, I changed my talents. So again, we have to build up to 100 Fury, so it will take a little bit here. We'll use all of our immolation or charges to get stuff rolling. The stuff on pull, I think, does take a long time, but maybe with more haste would be better. Okay, but we have enough here. Boom, we're going to Void Ray. And when I use my Reap, there's going to be a big frontal. Boom. So it looks really sick. It changes the animation to do like a big slash down, which is awesome. Which is just like a really cool section. All right, coming back to the talent tree, rolling tournament is really good as well. So you deal 12% increased damage for 12 seconds upon entering void meta. I think this is good with Sea Star. I like calling it Sea Star, little starfish. With like Midnight giving you a star right array. Some of the tech you can do to have 2 stars really quickly in meta. I think this will be pretty good. You can fit 2 stars into it. 12% is not a lot, but it's hard to say exactly where specs lie now with their newfound balancing, I guess. And then we have Calamitous, which is actually also really good. Damaging critical strikes deal 220 instead of the usual 200. This is good because you're probably going to want crit already because of Midnight's second ability. Sea Star crit damage is increased by 100% for crit strike chance when Sea Star always crits. So your Sea Stars are going to hit like a truck, which is pretty good. Again, this will just be a tuning thing. We'll see. All your stats seem good. Haste is really good for more Void Rays, more shorter cast time and consume. I think what else is hasted? Nothing else is hasted. Inside of meta, actually, Void Ray is hasted, which is kind of cool. Otherwise, you know, just faster cast times, more Void Rays, stuff like that. So pretty good stat in general, but you get a lot of it for free from Emptiness. Moving over to the left side, 4% meta haste, whatever. Then we get to the cool stuff. Hungering Slash. So we're going to unclick all this again, just so I can show you guys the left side of the tree. So on the left side of the tree here, I've goofed stuff up. Give me a second here. On the left side of the tree, we have all of the melee things. I need one more point. There we go. So we have a Hungering Slash, which is the main melee mechanic. So after dealing damage with the Hunt or Void Blade, you get Hungering Slash. So violently slash your scythe around you, dealing cosmic damage, generating fury, and giving souls, which is good. Void Step then makes every time you use Hungering Slash, your next Vengeful Retreat deals extra damage and can be cast once for free, which is great. And we also have the Hunt, which is deals cosmic damage basically. It's a long cooldown. Damage doesn't seem that great, honestly, for all of the melee abilities right now, but you know, it is another way of triggering Hungering Slash, which gives you another Void Step, which honestly feels pretty fun. I really like this combo. And the last melee abilities are Up Close, just increases their damage. And then Devourer's Bite, which Void Blade damage increased by 50%, which is a lot. And then whenever you damage with Void Blade or the Hunt, they take more damage. We're also going to swap over to Duty Eternal to make Void Blade hit more. And then we're going to swap over to Fellscard here as well, because Fellscard is actually the tree for the melee combo. This just triggers all your Void Surges, basically. I'm going to show you guys this stuff because it's pretty fun. So if we go over here to the training dummy, here are my abilities. Void Blade, 40-second, hasted, which is interesting. But if we like Hunt in, then we get Hungering Slash, boom, and then we get our Vengeful Retreat. Then we can VR out, Void Blade in, Hungering Slash, Vengeful Retreat again, and then you just kind of go into your normal rotation. So it's a fun little way to like start stuff, but the damage from it seems a little lackluster, and you don't get it that often, which is obviously not good, right? So now I have to wait 40 seconds to even get another one, which sucks. Or I also just kind of have to, you know, like wait till the Hunt comes up. Now, the other cool part about the melee stuff is that Fellscard fully resets your meta, right? So if we ever actually get into Fellscard, get into meta, I should have went with a shorter meta one, you'll get another charge of Void Blade, you'll get another charge of the Hunt, which is honestly like super sick, so you get more explosions. And the other thing with that is that if you ever have Void meta like last long enough, you'll get more like explosions from, I'm gonna use Collapsing Star, from anything you get. So we have Pierce the Veil, it's empowered. We have Predator's Wake, it's empowered. And then we also have Reaper's Toll. So boom, there's your Void Surges. Hunt doesn't actually give you one. Reaper's Toll does. Gives you another one, which is weird, but then boom, you can do damage that way. So it's pretty fun. It works really well with our movement ability called Shift as well, which just is like a targeted blink slash leap. So like you can like go Z-axis, which is awesome. So it's a really cool movement ability. Really sick that way. But that's like the melee stuff. That's kind of the whole tree. Personally, there's like a lot of 2-point nodes, a lot of passive things, which is, you know, kind of unfortunate. I think it's missing a mechanic or two. The final new thing is Annihilator, which is honestly like the caster ability one, basically. So Annihilator fully revolves around, oh, it's active. What are we doing? It revolves around meteors, basically. These pink meteors from the sky. So the capstone is Voidfall. Whenever you cast Consume, you have a 30% chance to gain a stack of Voidfall. At 3 stacks, you consume them to summon meteors, and then there's stuff that augments that, right? So each stack of Voidfall gives you haste. Passives from Voidfall persist after being consumed. There's a few others. I believe there is a damage one. There, each stack reduces damage taken. This one makes each stack give you 3% move speed. I mean, I have this one, which is another charge of shift, which is great. Void Ray deals more damage. Fully channeling Void Ray gives you a stack. Whenever you gain 3 stacks, then reset Reap whenever you activate Void meta, so you'll always get Void Fall, which is cool. Meteoric Fall, whenever you have 3 stacks, Reap will consume all 3, which is awesome. Other stuff here, Doomsayer, this one kind of sucks. Activating Void Ray out of combat or within 5 seconds calls down 3 Void Fall meteors. Very hard to activate Void Ray out of combat unless you're like chain pulling in Mythic Plus, because it costs 100 Fury and you lose your Fury outside of combat. So often you're just not gonna be able to use this, which is unfortunate. Then Dark Matter, first star, Clapping Star after casting Void meta causes a cosmic shower, so just like extra little cosmic damage. We talked about this one. This one just makes Consumed give you more Fury, which is actually really good for keeping up Void meta, which is really funny. And then deals more damage. Clapping Star deals more damage to single target and Voidfall as well. So this is kind of your caster one, and this is kind of your melee one, is generally the idea. And then the capstone, World Killer. The third Voidfall meteor strike called down in sequence is larger, deals more damage, has a larger area, and gives you soul fragments. So I'll show you what this looks like if we can just kind of get into a Void meta thing here. We'll use our Reap. We have 1 stack here. If we get to I-Beam, we'll generally have enough. Again, this is a hero talent tree that has like ramp up time, which is obviously unfortunate. But now we have 3. So you have this little pop-up, which is cool, and we're going to use Reap, and it's going to call down meteors. So it calls down all those meteors, and that's basically it, right? So it's like not the craziest hero talent tree, but it is visually pretty cool. It's a nice passive effect. It's a lot of effects for the Void meta stuff, which is nice. And then we Void meta here. Collapsing Star, I think, will rain down stuff. Boom. Actually, it didn't. I think I goofed by accident there. You also can't go above 3 stacks, which is unfortunate. So I definitely messed up a little bit there. Definitely some things that need to be ironed out, but I think overall the spec looks really cool. It plays decently well, but I think there's probably missing a little bit. We'll see what happens whenever the rest of the Felskard nodes come in and all the Clash Tree stuff comes in. Right now, I'd give it like a thumbs up, but caveat that I think some things do need to change, which we'll talk about Sunday, because this video is long as hell. So that's the video today. Hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown, I guess. We'll have some gameplay tomorrow. I might try and do the dungeon, or I might try and do the raid. There's a raid boss you can test, which is kind of awesome. And yeah, I'll be live probably Saturday night streaming, maybe. I'm not really sure. Actually, I have to go raid in like right now. At the time of me recording this, it's like 7:45. You guys will see me live in 8 minutes, in like 15 minutes probably, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I have alpha, so I'm gonna cover all the changes I can. And yeah, gonna be a sick ride. So appreciate y'all. I'll see you guys as we go forward, and drop your thoughts on Devourer. Seems pretty sick visually. We'll see how gameplay goes. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace. A big thank you to all of my channel members. Thank you to Correlated. Thank you to Alexander Trifunovich, Fear Redefined, Loose Change, R Palms 46, Basu Terceros, Zuligan, Dupe, Rigetti, Gabriel Correa, Magic Man 133, and Felfadaren Dark Terror. Thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone who watches the videos, but especially to those of you who are supporting the channel. Helps me make content, of course. If you want to support the channel, get your name shouted out at the end of the video. Consider becoming a channel member down below. There'll be more perks coming soon-ish for channel members. Trying to work on that a little. And again, thank you to everybody. Also, go follow me on Twitch, stuff like that. And y'all are awesome. See you guys next time. Peace.